you thinking of forming a business partnership? You've got some good business experience. Maybe you're really good with IT in one area, and you've got a friend that's maybe similar business experiences, and you think, we're just going to be super successful together. But wait a minute, before you jump into this business idea together, there's a lot of difficult things to unwind after you've started a business. So we're going to have a great conversation today with Evan. Evan Atha and I were talking a few days ago about some of the issues starting a new business. And so we're going to have a great conversation together. My name is Kent Irwin. I'm a business coach. I also do some life coaching and financial coaching. Evan, why don't you go ahead and tell us about what you do in business? I think the listeners would love to hear about it.
Yeah, I'd love to. Thanks, Kent. Thanks for meeting with me, man. I'm really excited. So, basically what I do is I own an AI agency. So this specific AI agency helps people with SEO or search engine optimization. It's basically getting their business to the top of Google rankings or rankings like that using AI strategies. So we do it for more cost effective and just more effectively than the competitors. So that sums it up pretty good.
Yeah, that's powerful. That can really make a huge difference in their business, can't it?
For sure. We try. We've done a good job so far. So it's the AI scene is kind of always moving around. So we just got to stay with it and keep our clients forward. That's for sure.
That's really cool.
Yes, sir.
Everybody's talking about it, but not that many businesses are using it quite yet, are they, that way?
Like with 99% of the people that I talk to, like they're not, they just don't know how to implement it in their business. A lot of people are scared of it, right? Which I totally understand, but I would rather help people get on the side of using it to be advantageous for them rather than like be caught behind years kind of in the future. So that's the general philosophy there. But
well, how do they get in touch with you to learn more about what you do?
It's just at Eshnob on any social media. So if you're looking for my stuff for AI help and things like that, LinkedIn would be the best way. So at Eshnob on there, and that's where you can find me. Send me a message through there.
How do you spell that?
It's ESHNAB, just like that. So
we'll put the link in the description. Okay.
Yes, sir. Love it. Thank you.
All right. Sounds great. I'm going to learn more about it myself because we need to start using your services. So that'd be awesome.
Yes, sir.
All right.
And so really, Kent, the main thing that I wanted to talk to you about, the kind of reason that I wanted to hop on this call with you today is because this is outside of my main business. I'm looking to join, 1 to 2 other potential business partnerships with people. And in my experience, I've been burnt, I feel like, and I'm, even though I trust these people like way more than maybe that last person I did in my life, I just want to know if it's a good idea or how I should go about it.
So it sounds like you did this once before?
Yeah, I did. I did do this once before. I was much younger. It was kind of a marketing agency-esque type thing back in like 2020, right during COVID. So I had a friend who was in marketing major at the time, and I just thought it kind of clicked, but I didn't really know him that long, and everything was good up until the point where it's like I'm doing, I feel like I'm doing 75% of the work, if not more, and I'm bringing the clients in and I'm doing something. The person says they want to help, says they want to do it, and then, expects 50% of the money, which I did totally do. But we just kind of shut that down pretty quick into getting our first few clients because we realized that kind of just system wasn't working. So,
yeah. So are you still friends?
We are not friends. And that's not in a terms of bad things ended. It's just kind of a general, people come and go in your life. Right. And so there's no animosity there at all or anything like that. It's just kind of after we did that, we just kind of went our separate ways and focused on our own stuff. So yes, sir.
Yeah. People come to me and ask me this question all the time. Should I form a business partnership? Should we form a corporation with my friend or my colleague that I've met in business? It's a question that comes up quite a bit. I hear about it all the time, sometimes in coaching, sometimes in other contexts. So it's a crucial topic. But business partnerships like a marriage. You spent a lot of time with that other person, didn't you?
Yeah, definitely during the time. And we were locked in too, COVID, so it was a lot of time. Yeah.
Yeah, sometimes you spend more time with your business partner than you do your significant other. So yeah, they're real life examples. I can relate to it. So, some partnerships work out. Have you heard, of course, we've all heard of HP, Hewlett Packard. great business relationship. Bill Gates and Paul Allen, that business relationship worked out really well. Ben and Jerry's ice cream, that worked out really well. Procter and Gamble. What are some of the other ones that you can think of?
That's a great question. I don't know if I have that at the top of my head, which I don't know if that's a good sign or a bad sign here, Ken, but
not that many worked out. I mean,
right.
It's really strange. I mean, I've known a couple insurance agents. They thought, oh, if we get together, they'll go really great. We'll form this partnership. It always works out that one works harder than the other. They might bring in assets or clients. It always seems like one works harder than the other. One goes golfing. One has stronger opinions. One has better ideas, it seems like, and they try to bully the other one or something. Even the guys that invented the airplane, the Wright brothers, they collaborated really well in inventing the airplane. But when it came to the patents and some of the later development, they couldn't get along. So a lot of times partnerships just don't always work out really well. I've just seen too many of them not work out well. So it's really tough. Sometimes they work out, sometimes they don't.
Yeah. I mean, what would you say separates those, that kind of first list you had of people that really worked out and then people that didn't, or that we haven't heard of today, I guess?
Well, what really seems to work out well is if people knew each other for a while beforehand, if they seem to really mesh well. So for example, I was at a business function last night, or I was at a business function yesterday morning. It's called Collisions and Coffee down here in Jacksonville, Florida. I knew we were going to film this video today, and I met two IT guys. And the first question out of my mouth was, so how long you guys been in business? A couple of years. How long have you known each other? And they said, well, we worked for the same company for 15 years. They were mid-30s, great guys. Said, so, well, you get along pretty well? And they're like, yeah, we worked together on projects for years, and they were doing well. So that's interesting. You worked on a lot of things together, and you're compatible. And they had different strengths and weaknesses that we discovered. Great. So what I learned from that is that they knew each other. They could work through issues together. They didn't always agree. They had different strengths and weaknesses. So what I recommend for people that are considering going into business together is that they date first. They learn what their strengths and weaknesses are. Maybe even they take some personality tests. So I'm not a huge believer in personality tests because I think they limit people to some extent. They think, well, if I'm an introvert, I can't be an extrovert, or I'm not a big fan in personality tests. But what they do is they show you your strengths and weaknesses, and you can discover the strengths and weaknesses in the other person. It's a good sign. But I would also find out what those strengths and weaknesses are in the other person. I would challenge the other person. Are you willing to work through your strengths and weaknesses? Are you willing to challenge me on my strengths and weaknesses? Because when you're in a small business, you have to be willing to work through those, because you're going to have to serve in lots of different roles. When you only have 2 or 3 or 4 employees in a small company, you're going to have to do things outside your comfort zone all the time, right? Right. So you're going to have to share up the division of labor. You're not going to be able to hire a full staff in the first several years until you have adequate cash flow coming in.
Yeah, absolutely. So I get what you mean by dating, right? But like, how would I really put that into action? Like, how do I date somebody before I form a partnership with them?
Yeah, that's a great question. So I would recommend that you would work on some projects together. So you work on 2 or 3 projects. You get a live client, and you would sit down and you would map out a project plan. There's project planning software you can get for relatively free, right? And in that project plan, I would put together a timeline of goals of when you're going to complete all the necessary tasks from beginning stage to completion, and who's going to do the necessary tasks, who's going to own all those tasks, what are the deadlines for all those tasks, and who's going to own them, who's going to do them, and how you're going to work through all of those.
Okay. Yeah. I love that.
Have regular meetings to update each person and when you're going to complete those, so that each person then has to report back. You're going to have meetings, you're going to have agendas, have shared files in Google Docs or wherever you're going to share those files. And so you can check on each other's work along the way. And then when you have those meetings, say, you're going to ask each person about their progress. They're going to ask you about your progress. And then you would challenge the other person. Well, I thought you were going to do this. Or wait a minute, there's a gap in the work. Seems like you need to find out this amount of information on that. There's a shortcoming here. You're going to challenge the other person. Oh, you're right. Thank you. I need to check on that. I'll get back to you on that. So you're challenging each other on the progress along the way on all these projects. You want there to be progress. You want them to shoot holes in your work. You want to shoot holes in their work. That's business. There's going to be challenges. You want to satisfy the client on each project to the nth degree.
Absolutely. Now, I'm definitely going to do that method. I love that kind of method. How do you go about like picking a project or finding a project? Is that something within my business already that I maybe have that individual do, or do we go find somebody else to do like business for? What would you say with that?
So if you have a prospective client that you're about ready to acquire or engage, one of you does, then I would work on that client together. Now, if this is a client that you own, then you would have to work through that with your existing LLC, and maybe their contract work for you. So you'd have to work through that. Yeah. So you would own the client, and you would do all the client contacts.
Okay.
But
yeah.
So they would be kind of like contract labor for you. They say, yeah, we're thinking of a partnership, but let's do this project together to see how well we work together. Or if you have a client that we could work on together, why don't we work on one of your clients together? Just make sure that we're compatible.
Sure. And then the risk is on one side and the other person feels like they're taken care of, I guess.
Exactly. And then let's do maybe if it's acquiring a new client, let's do the proposal together and the presentation together. Or if that's a little awkward, since you don't officially have a company, one of us will do the presentation.
Sure.
Yeah, I mean, it could be a little awkward in the first, stage. Whatever you decide to do, you're going to have to work through that.
Absolutely. And I feel like that probably just comes along with it, kind of having those maybe uncomfortable conversations sometimes. But if you can't have one at the beginning, you probably can't.
Yeah. I mean, you might just do a beta website together. How well are we designing a beta website or some beta documents or whatever it is, you just want to work through some beginning projects that, like we're dating, so that we can see how well we work together.
Sweet. Okay. Yeah. I mean, that's huge. Yeah. So I guess what happens when you are, dating this person for a while, seems like we're compatible, seems like everything is good. Like, what next? What are either some concerns to look about or what happens next?
I have a list of about 10 things that I normally go through when I'm coaching businesses when they're thinking about entering some kind of partnership or a corporation that they will share they want to become 50-50 or 40-60 owners, that kind of thing. So there's a list of, about 8 to 10 things I would have them consider.
Okay, what are those looking like?
Yeah, the first thing is the why. Why are they entering this partnership together? So this could take a couple hours for them to think about. Okay. So why are they forming the partnership? What are the advantages and the disadvantages? So are they doing it? What's the main business purpose? Are they doing it because one business partner is bringing equity? Are they bringing a lot of money or funds to it? Do they have a building? Do they have a lot of clients? And I'm bringing the expertise. Do I have this great business idea, but they have the funding in the business? Do I bring the intellectual value? What am I bringing? What are they bringing?
Sure.
So I really want to know what the advantages, what are the disadvantages of each person. Okay. So we really want to know what the magic sauce is that each person's bringing.
Yep. Okay. Awesome. Right. And is that something, a conversation you have? Is that
Yeah, it's a long conversation, and I would list it out. I would describe it. Why are we doing this? Why are we forming this partnership? But I would also ask, well, what would be the options of not forming this partnership? How could I succeed if I don't form this partnership?
For sure. Okay. And do you mean that to be just staying doing your own thing, or
doing my own thing? If I go out and borrow money, or if I form some other kind of partnership, what are my options of doing it some other way?
Right.
There's a lot of other ways. There's a lot of other options. And what are the challenges of this other person? What do I like or don't like about this person? What's the good and the bad? Be honest with yourself. Go, there's some things I don't like about you. There's some things what are some warning signs? Right. Be honest with yourself.
That part definitely is like dating.
And ask other people. what do you think of that person? What are some, what doesn't smell right? What gives you the heebie-jeebies about this person?
Right.
Take people that, ask people that are really good judges of character.
For sure.
People that are good at judging bullies, or people that don't, that aren't blown away by a flash, The next thing I want to know is alignment of values. Do we line up with values? Do we see money and people and family and business ethics, integrity, and all these things that are, important to me? Do they see things the same way? Not just with lip service, but with how they live their lives.
Right. So we got to be aligned. That's a huge thing. Now,
they don't have to be perfect. They don't have to be perfect, but how do they treat the waiter at the restaurant? I'm not saying they can't be awkward or, be socially perfect, but how do they treat people? How do they carry themselves? I'm not saying they have to be perfect, but I'm just saying what's going on in their lives. I don't care if somebody's had a lot of mistakes, actually, but did they learn from their mistakes? I want somebody that's had a lot of mistakes, actually.
Right.
But did they learn from them? That's a good value.
No, that definitely is.
Right.
And now what if we're aligned? What if we have, all these things we talk, we're aligned, but maybe this person has very similar skill set to me, and I'm kind of thinking about it, this person I'm potentially bringing in business, they fit into where I could see pretty similar kind of overlaps there. Is that a negative?
That's another discussion. So the next thing I look at is defining roles and responsibilities. Okay, what you're asking about I would have to really know more about what the business purpose is. So when I look at roles and responsibilities, I want to know what about the division of labor. Who's going to do HR, bookkeeping, accounting, taxes, operations, sales and marketing, website, IT. I know I'm ripping through this list. Customer service, brand management, product development, innovation, capital expenditure, responsibility, legal issues, payroll. You're going to have to divide up this. Who's going to do them? How are we going to negotiate some of these things? So we're going to have to divide some of these things up in the earlier years. Now, if you're saying that we're both going to butt heads because we're both great at doing the exact same thing. Let's say we're both architects and we're both great at designing bridges, and we're bridge design companies.
Mm-hmm.
And that's all we do, but we also want to design buildings, and we don't have a building design person. Well, I could see that being a problem. It'd be better if there was a building and a bridge designer. That would be and we both have clients in both of those worlds. That would be a better fit.
Right. That definitely does seem like it depends on the business structure, I guess, what you're offering and that kind of
right.
thing.
But I would want, if there's two IT, AI guys, I would want a little bit different skill sets in those worlds, but I would want some of the management responsibilities and some of those other things in a startup where they can kind of have some division of labor. Since I'm bootstrapping it, early on, we're going to have to share some of those other responsibilities until I can afford to hire some people that can self-manage those things myself.
For sure.
Number 4, profit and loss sharing. We want to make sure we agree on how we're going to pay ourselves and reinvest profits back in the business. If somebody's a big spender and they want to take the big profit day 2 and go out and buy a fancy car, I don't want to go into business with that person unless we agree on how we're going to pay bonuses when money starts flowing in.
Sure.
I don't want to go into business with somebody that's greedy, flashy spender guy or gal.
Totally. No, that makes sense. I guess that's probably in their personal life, that's indicative, right?
That goes back to the value question. Going into business with somebody like that, that's a formula for success. I've seen it happen all the time. That's a formula for failure. See it happen all the time.
Got you.
Yep. Contributions to the business. You want to know who's bringing what value to the business. So somebody can't hold that over your head. You outline that and you're up front. Well, I brought this to the business so that I can control. No, we outline that up front. Decision-making process. You want to make sure that's outlined up front. Who's got authority to make certain calls and that there's a clear hierarchy. I've seen businesses fight over this all the time. And then they called each other, well, I'm making a decision on this. Well, no, you made it on that. So frustrating.
Yeah.
And then you also have an exit strategy. So if somebody's not happy, how do I exit out of the business? What's the non-compete? How do I buy out the other owner if they want to exit? How do I make it fair to the exiting owner and also to the owner that stays behind?
Right. That one is huge for me just because, I'm not too experienced with working with others and what happens if someone really disregards their responsibilities, right? So I guess the exit strategy, does that. Now I'm curious how that works, right? Like you said, like you could buy out, or does someone lose percentage of business? Like how does that kind of
A true business lawyer will draw that up in the agreement. They do them every day of the week.
Okay, so that's pretty common practice.
Extremely common.
Okay.
So you put that in the contracts with dispute resolution process. You can design all this in there. Find a good contract lawyer that's used to working with startups. There are good ones out there in every city. Get a referral to a good one. But you want, this down now, it sounds like we're on the dispute side, and you want to make sure that your legal agreement has a buy-sell agreement. So if there's a death or disability, that you can buy out the other owner. Usually you fund it with insurance. You buy out the other owner so that you don't go into business with the family who's left behind. And now that creates a catastrophe. So you buy them out, use insurance, and everybody is happy.
Okay.
So, but we're talking about trust now. So you go into business with somebody that you can trust. So the longer you know someone, the longer you date them that we talked about before. Now you don't have to hire somebody, a lawyer, after you get into a mess, or you're in a business with somebody that you're not communicating with. So I mentioned, I know a coach down here in Jacksonville, Florida. He's a marriage counselor for business.
Okay.
So he does coaching business owners that sometimes don't get along.
Interesting. So that's his whole thing.
That's not his whole thing. That's probably a third or a quarter of his business.
Okay, that's still a pretty good chunk though. But that's pretty indicative of, I think, just people having hiccups in business and relationships in general. But okay, that's super interesting.
Yeah, humans don't get along sometimes, right?
Right. Yeah, definitely. So, okay, very cool. Like the communication and trust, like with my buddy that I'm trying to get into business with here, like that's a huge thing. We know each other 10 plus years, always been accountable, that kind of thing. And so that's good to know that that's kind of the base layer of what you need to even consider the rest of it. I love that. Right. So like, and kind of recap for me to kind of get an understanding, like one, you'd say the main thing is date them first, right?
Date them first, do projects together.
Okay, I love that. And then two, you got to make sure you have all these things written out and express details. And so if I do that theoretically and everything checks out, am I good to start with that person?
If everything checks out, you get good advice from many advisors. Makes sense.
Right. It's good to go.
It's always good to talk with many advisors.
Absolutely.
Accountants, parents, other business people, business coaches. Yep.
I love it. Hope to talk to you about that here soon when I actually get that going and see what's going on there. But I guess before we head out here, like, do you have any kind of last things that you think I should know about the subject, or is that really the gist?
That's really good. I like the book Crucial Conversations. It's also a podcast. That's a good book for maybe both partners to read. Say, look, if we're going to go in business together, we got to be able to have frank, crucial conversations between us. Because we're going to be close, we're going to spend a lot of time together. We need to be able to have frank conversations between us. That's a really good book to read together. 7 Habits of Effective People is really good, so that we can be effective communicators, good listeners, just good leadership development. Because the effectiveness of a business to be able to grow is your ability to grow as leaders.
Right.
The better you grow as a leader has a lot to do with how well your business grows. So
for sure. And I guess I can see if we're on the same page, if they're willing to just go and read this book with me at the same time. I feel like that's a great kind of thing to see if they're really like looking to make the longevity of this thing as how I want it. I think that's a good start right there, probably. So
you're in a great industry. The better you develop as a leader, that's how your business will grow. The more you develop as a person, that's how your business will grow exponentially.
Sweet.
Yeah, so you're starting off in the right place. So I'm excited for you. I expect big things of you.
Yes, sir. Thanks, Kent. I appreciate that, man. I appreciate the time.
I'm super excited for you. So love this call today. This was great. And thank you for spending time with me. This is fantastic.
Yep. Thanks, Ken.
Yeah. Hey, if you like this video, please subscribe and like this video, and please put your comments below. So thank you so much. Have a great day.
Yeah, you too, Ken.
All right.